I wanted to speak for a second about, you're in Hollywood, you've been in some very massive projects, and as well as comedy. What role do you think Hollywood, the media, comedy can play in this kind of a conflict? And what do you think have been some of the more effective things that have been done or less effective? And do you think silence is complicity? What do you think regarding the whole media?
No, that's a big question. We all media, the
All
entire
media,
world,
all of it.
all media, all people, all humans. Look, I mean, I think that many people have felt that members of the prominent Hollywood Jewish community, some have been more vocal, some have been less vocal, and there's been frustration with that. I try and stay away from these like silence is complicit. You know what I mean? I try and stay away from that because those are the sound bites that can be harmful in a way that oversimplifies it. I'm sure some people are not on social media because they're overwhelmed emotionally. I'm sure some people are scared to lose followers. Not cool. I mean, let's take a case by case basis. I can't get in the heads of people. Um, do I wish that more people were more vocal constantly and calling out? And some prominent members are saying, "Oh, you use Judaism when it serves you, and you're doing a little video on Hanukkah, but you won't call out the slaughter that happened." Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that, especially from the members of the Jewish community. Um, have there been panels now about anti-Semitism? Has it come down more to the fore? And do we see people that are actually doing good and speaking kind of truth to power? Yes. Uh, now in terms of like breaking down in terms of comedy is tricky. And when something like this is so sensitive and tender, it's going to work for some people, and for some people it's going to be too raw. Um, I think that making fun of the bad guy's always good. Other things you mock or tricky, or certain videos that talk about okay, is the Gaza Health Ministry, right, which is Hamas pretty much, is inflating the death toll. And they said, oh, this bombing caused 500 deaths, but how did you count 500 deaths in 2 minutes? Do I think that works? No, because people are dying, and innocent civilians are being killed in this tragic, you know what I mean, in this tragic act of warfare. Like, it's warfare, but it's still tragic, and that's tricky, and so I don't think that works, because it's not serving the cause. What is the cause? To humanize and not demonize the Israeli people that are suffering right now, that don't know what to do, that are overwhelmed, that the majority of all these innocent civilians were innocent, but the majority of sadly, the tragedy of all these kibbutzim and the Otef were left-wing helping Gazan civilians. One of those hostages said, she actually said to the husband, like, how dare you, like, I'm driving Gazans for health, can enlighten people about the lack of occupation in Gaza and the corruption in Hamas, and Hamas being an evil organization? Yes. Do I think that people that think that Israel's the oppressor are going to change their mind? No, I don't. Would I hope that some people want to be more educated and don't just jump on the bandwagon of this binary, and believing these falsehoods of all Jews are white and Jews are the oppressor and colonialism and all this kind of ridiculousness, where we're trying to be like, well, look, Palestine, existed. Jews have been there. I don't know. I mean, I got to tell you, like, I'm happy this content is out there. How can we reach those people that are not, I mean, anger and hate makes people blind, and it's hard. It's hard. Do I think comedy can serve? Yes, and certain comedy does work. I mean, I think that you know, certain situations, if you're laughing at your own situation, I do. I spoke to groups here when I first got here, and I was like, do I do comedy? How can I do comedy when people are suffering? How can I do comedy when there's hostages? But people need it. Besides just the fact of trying to get through a message through comedy, it's also giving people, you have to cope through comedy. Otherwise, it's so dark and so overwhelming. You have to be strong and you have to keep going. And I think that that's what people are trying to do. And the Jews have always been good at that. And that's the meaning of resilience. And I think that is finding the humor. I talk about how the morning of the attack, when I was literally having panic attacks and trying to call my ex, you know, as the rockets are falling, as I'm seeing the footage, my ex is probably looking at his phone, kind of blocking me, going, she's overreacting, she's being hysterical, or, I'm going to go, like, oh, it's the nag, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm not the nag. This is not, did you forget his lunch? This is, so but that's my situation, and I've been seeing some videos that some have worked better and some haven't. I know there's a big video that's been circulating now about the money that actually the people are donating to Gaza, and it ends up in, that was kind of a high profile video. I think that worked. I mean, I think it's good. I think it's, but, yeah, but it's hard. Again, it's, as long as you're not punching down, and you're acknowledging that there is, and I hate to say both sides because that's been a problem, right? But there is suffering in this campaign, and it's challenging, and Israel is in a very tough position. And as mothers that are sending their soldiers, you hope and you pray that this will end in some sort of, I don't want to say victory because we've already lost so much, right? But in terms of rooting out the evil and really working towards a better future for all involved. I mean, I hate to sound like a dirty hippie, but that's really what I think everyone is really striving for. And I can't speak for everyone. Some people don't want Israel to exist, and that's no secret. But you hope that you hope that we somehow get through. But to again, the tragedy of, yes, the oppressed communities, and disenfranchised minorities that have suddenly seen the Jew as the outsider and the enemy. That hurts. That hurts, and it's tragic. Um, and if I can think of a funny video to make on it, I will do it. But it's a struggle. I'm doing a fundraiser for the Hostage Forum on Sunday, and I debate because there's going to be, hopefully, the family members of some of the hostages are going to be there. And you're like, well, what do I just do jokes about my dating life? Do we call it pure escapism? Because God knows that's a tragedy in itself, and I can talk about those, that life. Or do we roast Hamas, right? Or do I talk about the attack? Because I don't want to minimize anyone else's experience. And
Is there a playbook for that thing? Like, or it's just, you just gotta feel it out and
we
kind
got to feel it out, like anything. I mean, certain jokes again will work for people, and certain jokes will not. And you can joke about the ignorance of people. Sadly, the ignorance is dangerous, but you have to make fun of it. You
of,
have